Well, so you see, this is how this goes here. And this is yet but another article that is really clearly a disappointment. But if you look at what has been going on lately, and there has been a lot of conversation on Twitter and various social media sites. And I have been on Twitter and pretty active on Twitter. And I think through YouTube, my comments, you may can see some of the conversation that is going on. It has to do with the voting and a lot of what I feel about what has been going on. And there has been comments from Ice Cube, comments from 50 Cent. There has been comments from various people who are on Twitter about voting and whom to vote for, policies, and so basically a lot of political conversation going on. So this comes out of the National Review. Third-degree murder charge dismissed against Derek Chauvin in death of George Floyd. This is by Brittany Bernstein, and this was put out today. And so they always show the mugshot of Derek Chauvin. For those that may not remember who he was one of the officers that was involved in the death of George Floyd. So a judge on Thursday dismissed a third-degree murder charge against Derek Chauvin, one of the four former Minneapolis police officers that was charged in the death of George Floyd. So Chauvin, who was released from custody this month on a $1 million bond, will still face charges of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in Hennepin County. The Hennepin County Judge Peter A. Cahill ruled. So he still has other court dates. So video is shows Derek Chauvin pressing his knee onto Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes while he is handcuffed and yelling that he can't breathe. So a lot of us saw those videos, and there are lasting memories, not good memories, that most of us have, and that may also persuade a lot of people on which way to vote in terms of the racial injustice that we have recently faced here in America. So the video is showing this. So Cahill also upheld the charges of abiding or aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter against the officers Tao Thao, Thomas K. Lane, and J. Alexander Kang, who were present at the time of this video. So that's a very, very short article, so it doesn't go really long like some of the articles that I've come across. Or, this just came out, and I figured this is better a time as any to mention that, there's election that is just a general election that's just days away, and a lot of people have voiced opinions. There's early voting. So to bring up to speed, there has been landlords who are sending letters to some residents threatening they're going to raise their rent if they don't vote for Trump. And so that's being investigated. You can look online, or you can look it up and Google it and find out where this is being um, um, orchestrated and where it's being done. Um, there are also emails that are going around, so beware if you get any of those um, emails that are also voter intimidating, threatening that if you vote for Biden, that some harm will be done to you, or to some matter of fact, to the way the letter is written, or the emails. There's letters and emails going out, and so some people have complained that they've been receiving threats. I believe it's the Proud Boys, um, and there's also foreign um, meddling going on in some of the emails, and there's even been misguided information that people can vote online, and they can just say their vote or email their vote, and so some people are being um, how would you say, I would guess you would say, dissuaded, um, and at the same time persuaded to vote falsely and not turn in an official ballot at all. Then we have here in California where we had boxes that were planted in various counties, Fresno, Orange County, and also Los Angeles, where they were placing, and they, as in Republicans, it wasn't all Republicans, but there was a group that I believe must be a radical group that are really extreme. They were putting out ballot boxes that weren't official, and people were assuming they were official boxes, and they were placing their ballots in there. So those ballots may not get counted, or they may not even be accepted. They may go in late, or if at all. There's also been some fraudulent activity where people have put ballots in, I believe, absentee ballot in the mail, and then there were some workers, and this is not everyone, but there were some workers that had gotten fired because they were throwing the ballots, the absentee ballots, in the trash, or throwing them out. So there's been a lot of manipulation, a lot of fear and coercion, a lot of misinformation that has gone out just from this year's voting and general election. And there was also the incident where Ice Cube was what most of us know probably by now, and some are still learning of, is that he had tried to work with some Trump staffers, but he explained himself later. He said that he had um, tried to get in contact, or they had tried to both contact him to see what his project was. It was the Black Contract with America, and a manifesto basically for the betterment of Black Americans, in short. And so there was a lot of questionable ideas that were on there, and some people had some suspicions. And later on, it was revealed that Trump staffers, or Trump pundits, were helping him with that contract, or that what was called, or what is now called, the Trump Platinum Plan. So a lot of people in Black Twitter chimed in, and a lot of people that are um, Black commentators on different various sites have made their comments on how they feel about that whole issue. And then 50 Cent, he wanted to endorse, claims he's more for POTUS and he wants to endorse Trump based on Biden's tax plan. And so it's more about the money for him rather than people. So we know what kind of person he is. Thus far that I know of, with 50 Cent's track record, he's on Instagram and probably other sites. He's a rapper also, like Ice Cube, but more recently, he's known for on Instagram his unsavory demeanor about women. So I don't know why Instagram keeps those comments up. There's also been the issue of what type of content is displayed on social media, and it's odd because when it's someone that is famous and they're saying something negative, it takes a while, but eventually it depends on the level of what is said and whom it's said to, that it catches up with them. And so, from what I've witnessed and what I've read on the history behind 50 Cent, is that there's a lot of things that he said on Instagram that is not, let's say, it's not pleasant at all in regards to women of color, black women preferably. So I really am not surprised for his comments. With Ice Cube, I believe generally he was really trying to help, and he just was not sure about who he was receiving or whom he was receiving help from, what their ulterior agenda was, until quickly things shifted when pictures started floating around with MAGA caps on, and they were photoshopped on the heads of Ice Cube and 50 Cent. Ice Cube weighed in and he basically said that he did not support that type of activity and he did not support any of the establishment in terms of how it is being run as it is right now. That he really was trying to genuinely look for a way to help people of color, people who are suffering, and maybe find avenues or ways to try to curb some of the injustice or rework some of the policies with reform in regards to the justice system or judicial system, and the police reform and prison reform in that sense, and also try to come up with ideas to uplift communities economically. And so a lot of us would like that to happen. Some don't. They're more about themselves. And so this pandemic is really truth telling. So there's been a lot of things that have come to play. And so a lot of that will definitely be considered in this year's election. And so surprisingly, there's been early voters, and I'm not surprised of that either because of what has been going on. A lot of people are still out of work. Some people are taking part-time or jobs that are essential jobs to try to make ends meet. And there's still a lot of people that are really suffering and are still out of work. And so, as the story goes, election is right around the corner, and so we shall see how things turn out. But whether or not things turn out in the favor of whomever, what we do know is that from the way this has played out, racism is a problem in America. That is for sure. It impacts all of us, really, to be honest. Economic issues are a problem here in America. and it also impacts everyone in some way. Um, so I don't know how this is going to play out exactly, except that what I can say is that the end game is that this is going to be probably more than likely in the history books in terms of a real robust election, and with all that has happened prior to it that led up to this point. But what I can say is after this is over with, I believe there will be probably more protests, and it could go either way. And there probably will be more incidences that will occur just solely out of the fact of whom was elected. And so just be ready for that. I know that what I have been seeing in my community is people that are desperate, people that aren't getting their needs met. There's more shoplifting. And it's not of like what you would think clothes or shoes. No, people are actually shoplifting in survival. They're shoplifting what you would, I guess, what you would say food items, um, because they are in fear. They're in fear that they're not going to have enough food to eat. They're not going to have enough to live on. And there's probably going to be a lot of foreclosure and eviction coming down the pike. Um, so that'll be the other part of the pandemic. So the pandemic comes with it, not just the virus alone, but we have racial injustice, economic inequality, and then we have a lot of death and people who are newly infected with COVID, people who have lost jobs, people who are trying to reorganize their life and maybe try to find other new employment that is safe in particular, or they might have to settle for something and downgrade themselves. Maybe they were making a higher pay somewhere else and they're no longer there. There's a lot of different things. Unemployment is still an issue for people who may not have received it, or maybe they're just now getting it, or they're waiting still. Um, so there's a lot of things that are happening as of now. So all we can do, these are all developing stories such as this one. All we can do is wait and see what the outcome is going to be. But I know the rallies that Trump has had have been pretty unsafe. You know, people weren't wearing masks. Um, I guess making it seem like this disease is a joke. The COVID-19 is not real. That's the way they're going about it, but it is misinformation. The COVID is real, and has destroyed families. It's killed a lot of people, and then there's been other issues that have happened where people are afraid to go get medical care, or they can't get into a hospital to see a physician, so they die of other causes. And so that has been a big issue. And it just seems like it doesn't get any better before it gets worse. And so, having said that, I'm going to let this video go. Like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for listening. I do not support Donald Trump's inability to keep people safe, and the way he's going about his campaign, it seems divisive, and it has caused a lot of destruction in relationships and a lot of lost lives. Even if he couldn't physically stop the disease from getting here, he could have told the truth in the beginning that maybe people would have mobilized, they would have taken things a little more serious. Now it's out of control, where it's everywhere, and I even heard that it may be an endemic, so it may even evolve, so if it hasn't already. So with that being said, there's a lot of violence that I think will come, and hunger and famine in some places, if it hasn't already, like even in my community, I'm seeing people stealing out of grocery stores food because they are food insecure. So, and they're desperate because they're afraid they're not going to have a place to stay. So, for those people who say Trump is doing things for the black community, I have not seen it. Because if he was, you would not see people going in the stores trying to steal food so they can eat. But anyway, having said that, like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for